Jim Boeheim and Syracuse were in North Carolina for a game Tuesday night, and earlier in the day, Onondaga County, New York District Attorney William Fitzpatrick said the investigation into the fatal crash involving Boeheim is nearly complete, and speeding was not a factor. Boeheim was driving home after a game last Wednesday when he swerved to avoid an accident in the road and hit 51-year-old Jorge Jimenez. Boeheim continues to cooperate with the authorities, and Jimenez's funeral is Thursday. Jim Boeheim, for the first time, he's on the road taking on North Carolina. And we take you straight to the second half. Down 3 is UNC. Kobe White, this is a name you need to know because he's an all-star freshman. And the highlight is all about him and his hair. Kobe White, he had 17 for 56 over the last 4 games, but now he hits everything. The layup is good. He's fouled. He hits the free throw. UNC goes up 5. Then 15 minutes left to play. White, the oop to Garrison Brooks to win 93-85. UNC, Duke, and UVA in a 3-way tie at the top of the ACC. And North Carolina remains on the 2 line, according to the Joe Lunardi. After this win against Syracuse, Duke entered Tuesday as the top overall seed, but slipped behind Virginia and Gonzaga after falling to Virginia Tech.
But I want you to see what happened in this game between number 22 Iowa and Ohio State, because there was enormous controversy. Second half, Iowa's down 11. Connor McCaffrey's going to get run into by Keyshawn Woods. McCaffrey's going to get called for the foul. He would then argue with that and get a technical called on. You take another look here. McCaffrey somehow called for a defensive foul. So it is inarguably a terrible call. McCaffrey goes back to the bench. The fans are chanting at him. They're calling him Daddy's boy. His dad is the coach, Fran McCaffrey. Later, Iowa's down 15. Fran McCaffrey's going to get a technical for arguing with the refs. He is visibly upset. The father-son duo both hit with technicals. Ultimately, Ohio State wins the game 90-70. But after the game, according to the Toledo Blade and the Columbus Dispatch, Coach McCaffrey screamed following official Steve McJunkins down a hallway in the arena. I'm not going to read the words. You see them on the screen. You see what he is reported to have screamed in the direction of the officials. We will see if there is any further reaction to that. Meanwhile, another college hoop doubleheader tomorrow night starting at 7. It's number 9 Michigan, fresh off their loss to Michigan State. They're taking on Nebraska. Then it's a Pac-12 rivalry matchup, USC and UCLA, and both games are on ESPN, and they're on the ESPN app, so you can watch from absolutely anywhere. Back to the NFL. The Combine's underway, and a lot of eyes will be on that man. That's Dwayne Haskins, set to throw on Saturday. He is currently ranked number 7 on Mel Kiper's big board, 1 spot ahead of another quarterback, Kyler Murray. Since 2008, 32 quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round. 21 of those players threw at the Combine, including Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson, all of them a year ago. So let's talk a little bit about him. Let's bring our quarterback into the conversation, Dan Orlowski. If you watch this show, you know I love Haskins. I thought he should have won the Heisman. Show me what you think of this guy on the tape.
There's a lot of talk about his talent as a thrower, but what's on tape and what's going to be talked about at the Combine this week is how he's processing information. He's a problem solver before the snap, and then during the snap, he attacks. So I'm just going to put our eyes just on Dwayne Haskins as I let this play initially and watch him just communicating to his receivers down there. Well, why is he doing that? Well, it's because offensively for Ohio State, they only have 5 guys in protection. And Washington in the Rose Bowl lines up with 6 guys right up at the line of scrimmage. Do simple math. I've got a problem, right? So he's communicating to receivers like, listen, if one of these guys blitzes, you got to give me an answer. So I love that before the snap of communicating to his guys. We've got to have an answer to this problem. As we transition to like another angle, I want to show now we get into the snap and how he goes into this is the opportunity for me to strike. So Washington's really just going to play cover 3, and this safety's going to go back to the middle of the field. And when you're playing cover 3, you really as a quarterback think, I got to attack these seams. This is the weakness of where you want to go after. But Haskins does an outstanding job. Put our eyes at that free safety because he's going to move that safety with his eyes. He's going to be staring in this direction to the right side of the field. Now, again, this safety's right now splitting the S in Ohio State, right? He's right at the bottom of it. Haskins moves him to come back and throw that shot. And I'm going to go back to this safety because Haskins is going to want to throw this post backside. That safety's no longer in the middle of that S screen.
Yeah.
He has now been moved. Where's that ball caught? Just about at the bottom of the S. If he doesn't move that safety, this guy's in the hospital. So you're seeing a kid, that's what processing information for quarterbacks is. It's like, okay, this is pre-snap. I got to get an answer post-snap. Let me move you as a safety. And I want to show one more clip because I love this. Okay, so first of all, this is what anticipation looks like. He's going to try to get this crosser going to this receiver for Ohio State right here. Just this crosser. You see that guy in the picture right now, Greeny?
No, not really.
He's already throwing.
Yeah.
That receiver for Ohio State is not in the picture right here. 3 defenders for Purdue, but Dwayne Haskins, as a quarterback, has already started to throw. That's anticipation and accuracy for a quarterback. So, like, this is a kid, the combine this weekend, he is going to wow executives with how smart he is and how he can anticipate throws.
And anyone who had access to his last 4 games of the season, Maryland, Michigan, Northwestern, and Washington, knows how good he is.
Yeah.
You've been there with these guys, with him and Kyler Murray. How do you think this process plays out with the 2 of them?
One thing I will say, and I was at both of those games that you just drew up, and for Dwayne Haskins, we forget that he went through the beginning of the season without a head coach. And we remember we talk about the freshman wall and dealing with all this and freaking the Lakers and whether or not the young guys can handle it.
Yeah.
His coach wasn't there. He had a completely different voice in the beginning of the season. His production never dropped off. You talk about how smart he is and how he can read and all of the progressions. Like, it never was a problem for him. And sometimes the run game was not existent.
And you know what a stat that I love about him the most? He led the FBS in fourth quarter touchdown passes this year, 13. So when they needed his best, he brought it.
Yeah. I get that there are other guys who do like his exotic things. He checks every box.
Absolutely.
The notion that he wouldn't be the first quarterback taken makes no sense to me. Now, speaking of another quarterback, Dak Prescott, entering the final year of his rookie deal because he wasn't a first-round pick. They don't have that 5th-year option on him. The Cowboys are looking to sign Dak now to a long-term extension this offseason after he led them to another postseason appearance. They have benefited greatly, of course, from this contract, where he's been making so little money comparatively. He got just $1.9 million in cap hit over the last 3 seasons combined, 78th among quarterbacks in that span. Now, we heard Shefty earlier this morning telling us to expect to see him get a deal kind of like the Derek Carr deal, $25 million a year. I think there'll be some people who look at that and say, is Dak that good? What do you think?
He deserves it. You know, if you look at his first 3 years, they're very similar to a guy like Russell Wilson. Wins, touchdowns, interception. He throws an interception every 1.7. His touchdown percent, his interception percentage is 1.7. If he continues to keep that on in his career, it'd be the 2nd best all time behind Aaron Rodgers. So he's got 32 wins and 48 starts. He's gone to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. I mean, this guy is proven right now to be a very good starter.
I think that's one of the questions, though. Like, there's one thing to rely on history and what you've seen, but also, do we believe in the expectation that he's going to be the franchise QB that takes you to the next level?
Well,
you know?
yeah, I mean, I get that, but he's been, like, good to really good in certain moments with an offensive coordinator that a lot of people are like, man, you got to get up to speed. Can Kellen Moore really take him to that next level? So if he's been good with a little bit of an outdated offense that doesn't fit his skill set, what is he going to become now that he gets a little bit more of a modern offense around him and really utilize all of his talents?
Okay, well, if you believe, then I believe, Dan. So one thing for sure. We know who's always going to get paid. That is LeBron James. Let's talk the Lakers because they'll look to get back on the winning track tonight against the Pelicans after suffering back-to-back losses to sub-500 teams and dropping 10 of their last 14 games overall. Paul Pierce, he had some interesting takes on what the team should do for the remainder of the season, and Laker fans may want to cover their ears.
If I were the Lakers, I would shut LeBron down.
What?
I mean, like, no, seriously. I mean, he's getting older. He has to do too much for them to win. I mean, just look at, he puts out a triple-double, and they can't win. I mean, just imagine if he really goes out and really exerts himself and has to go for 40.
You're giving up on the season now.
I mean, this season was a wash coming into it. They weren't contending. And when you're LeBron James,
hold on.
They weren't contending from the jump.
Wow. I mean, you want to talk about getting a lot of people going. And look, it's a hot take, as we say, but Jalen, does it make some sense?
Paul Pierce is my brother, and I love him. Can't wait to see him and the Countdown crew on Friday, Chauncey and Michelle Beadle. However, this is a not take. This is a not take. We all know that the Los Angeles Lakers should not, will not bench LeBron James for the rest of the year. That literally makes 0 sense. Here's why.
Tell me why.
Because LeBron James signed a 4-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. His goal was to help lead them into the future. And if they can't maximize the young players already on the roster, find a way to parlay them into Anthony Davis. Once that does not happen and All-Star break progresses, now it's about everybody getting out on the floor and playing at their optimum level. The Lakers don't need to be trying to get a lottery pick. They need to be trying to get in the playoffs.
But they can't. I mean, the point is, at some point, they're going to have to come to terms with what they are. They lose to Atlanta. They lose to Memphis. They lose to the Pelicans without Anthony Davis. At some point, the writing is on the wall, and maybe the best thing that could happen to them is if LeBron's the groin injury that he had to kind of bothering him a little bit again, and the next thing you know, he's shut down for the season.
Well, if you remember, you're talking to the first person in theory for the national media that said the Lakers wasn't going to make the playoffs.
Right.
Now the door has been blown open and everybody coming with these takes. The bottom line is they got a chance to back into the playoffs based on the Spurs are free falling, the Clippers don't want to make the playoffs, and we'll see if the Kings are ready for the moment.
Let me ask you this. What does making the playoffs in 2019 mean long-term for the Lakers, if anything? If they are the last seed, they got to go play the Golden State Warriors, and you're going to get swept anyway. What are we doing here? Like, what does that help?
Yeah, with a bunch of rookies, young guys that you're trying to trade away anyway.
They're not going to be there. Yeah, so you're getting them playoff experience. I guess that's great.
So now since
I'm just asking. I'm not agreeing with anyone.
So now the expectation of these Lakers have changed a whole heck of a lot. I remember sitting at this table arguing with you and Stephen A. Smith saying that they were going to be an A seed and losing the first round to the Warriors.
Right.
And then he said, they'll make it to the conference finals and they don't have to play the Warriors. Now everybody's saying they shouldn't make the playoffs.
You're yelling at Stephen A. He's not even here.
I'm yelling at you. I'm yelling at y'all too.
What's the answer to the question? What does it accomplish if they make it?
What would be the significance of making it to the playoffs?
They haven't made the playoffs in the last 5 years. It'll be progress.
They're going to trade away all of their players after the season ends. How is that progress?
Here's what happens.
Quickly.
I'm on the phone with you and I'm trying to do a deal.
Yeah.
Your players look a lot more attractive when I see them performing in the playoffs than when your team makes it to the lottery.
Maybe. Everyone can see what's going on.
You help the value of Kuzma.
They have to win like
You help the value of Ingram.
Let's hold this thought. We have to. Zach Lowe's coming in here. We'll continue to convince Jalen that he's wrong as we go. We'll also remind you we got a doubleheader Wednesday. Starts in Boston.
So should the Celtics miss the playoffs too?
They're not going to miss the playoffs.
They're not connected right now.
Kyrie and Dame Lillard taking on Portland. Then we go to Staples Center, and we'll see what winds up happening with LeBron and the Pelicans
Lakers
and everything
by
else.
12.
We're talking about it. Meanwhile, still to come here, much more on LeBron and the Lakers, and much more on Kyrie and the Celtics coming off their worst performance of the season. Zach Lowe will explain something to Jalen next.